So let's look at the market right now. So we got Bitcoin at 65K. It's kind of pulled back here over the last few days. ETH at about almost 3,600. It has very, very slightly narrowed its gap against Bitcoin. And we've really wanted to see some bullish action from ETH. We haven't seen like any kind of huge sell-off or anything after the ETF announcement. We've actually seen it crawl up against BTC a little bit, but we haven't seen anything like super bullish yet either. And we've talked about the last few weeks, like will we see that whenever the ETF actually gets launched, which I believe is coming on the 2nd of July here. I'm curious your thoughts on that. I mean, that's really what we're looking at. I mean, we haven't really been looking at BTC as much as we have ETH. I will mention real quick, I know you're not a fan of them, and that's fine as far as, him not being a fan of Hex or whatever and crapping on Richard Hart products. But Bob Lucas, I think, is very interesting when it comes to the Bitcoin 4-year cycles. And he, every quarter or so, I think, releases like a 40-minute video of like where he's at with everything. And he just released one the other day and felt very strongly about a normal right translated cycle at this point, because as not that I think a lot of people would say that at this point, because we have seen Bitcoin cool off. We've seen things take a little bit more time. And he was thinking, like he actually have a target of 200K BTC next year, which I think all of us would take at this point, which would be very cool. So that's his target, probably midway through next year, as far as the time frame. So I'm interested in your thoughts on the time frame here that we're seeing, because I think a normal cycle is starting to look more likely, and kind of where we could see ETH catch up with BTC. So what do you think here, Ewok?
Yeah, as I've said before, I've never really been a proponent of the left translated cycle. I've said this is going to be the same until it's not, and it's still the same. We haven't seen much difference. We did see a little head start with Bitcoin, only because of the ETF, which was, it's one of those black swan events kind of things, not in a bad way, but in a good way. So, we just got a head start. That's really all it was, but we haven't gotten back to that point yet. I mean, it heated up, and as you can see, it's cooled back down, and it's just, in this channel. So, while I'm seeing more bearish sentiment here on Bitcoin, now we're kind of seeing a little bit more bullish on Ethereum. So, we're still in a channel. However, the green candles are definitely more in favor than the red ones on the ETH chart. So, again, I don't think there's going to be a change until it's different, and by then we're not going to know anyway. So it's nice to have a crystal ball, but these markets still move the same things, the same emotions, the same washout, the same rinsing of people has to happen in order to get to the point where the liquidity is very thin. There's not a whole lot for sale. People kind of get the wind, and you start to see green candles, and then everybody apes in, up until you get to the point where you jump in a taxi and this guy's trying to tell you to buy Doge or something like that. So, at that point, you should probably take some profits, and, you're reaching, the higher levels during the cycle of that. And then it kind of rinses and repeats. So nothing really new. I am seeing, like I said, I think because people are priming up for this ETH ETF, you are going to see that. And I still say, I'm sticking to my prediction that we'll be over 4,000 by, the 1st of July, which is
really
coming up soon. Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, that'd be interesting. I mean, to run up like that. Not that, it's been super close. I think it's actually been to 3,900 possibly a little bit earlier in this market. I mean, we know that the Pulse Chain SAC wallet bought around there. So
May 27th, it hit 90 or 39.90 or 39.75.
Oh, okay. So it pretty much has hit 4,000 already. Okay.
Just about.
So that's about a week and a half from now. So we will see. It would be very interesting to see that happen going into it, see where it trades right after the launch of the ETF. And continuing on, so that's a great point, because I was going to ask you that question about how do you think the price action for ETH is here as the ETF launches on July the 2nd. And also, And this is pretty much just like a huge signal to the market. And, you and I actually said this when this news came down. So it was only, I think, a month ago. It doesn't even feel like that we got this news that, oh, the SEC is launching an investigation into Ethereum. And we had the tweets from Consensus and stuff like that. And we literally said right here on this show, like, oh, okay. I mean, this just reeks of like they are tanking the price of Ethereum so they can buy their bags because they know that something like an ETF is coming further down the line. Now, neither one of us thought that it was going to be approved this month or whenever that approval happened. We thought it was going to be like later this year. That didn't happen. So it makes this whole thing look even more fishy from the SEC, which, I mean, they're not strangers to doing fishy things, of course. Gary Gensler smells a lot like fish, and not in a good way. But this timeline was so quick. I mean, like under a month since they launched an investigation, which I think was just total BS. I don't think that there was ever really any kind of an investigation. No. And then suddenly, oh, okay, they pull it like right before the ETF is about to go live. Like, just doesn't make sense. But thank you for pulling up that tweet from Consensus. They say Ethereum survives the SEC. Today, we're happy to announce a major win for Ethereum developers, technology providers, and industry participants. The enforcement division of the SEC has notified us that it's closing the investigation into Ethereum 2.0. This means that the SEC will not bring charges alleging that sales of ETH are securities transactions. So there you go. I mean, ETH is not a security. I mean, something that Gary has said in the past on video. But we don't actually have the SEC pretty much coming out and admitting it. And I'm sure if you were to get an interview from Gary, you would find out that he would still give you some kind of backhanded thing like, well, we're not admitting to anything here, But yeah, what do you make of this? Because this is huge news, not just for Ethereum, but the industry. I mean, this is huge news for Pulse Chain, huge news for altcoins in general. So what do you make of this?
Yeah, exactly. So you back up a little bit and you makes you really wonder, did BlackRock have something to do with this? Did somebody that started these funds, did they have a little nudge? Did somebody get a couple favors? I'm not suggesting that there was any bribery going on, but I've seen it before, and we know how all this stuff plays out when there's big money involved, which there is clearly with the people that have started with the ETFs. There's 4 of them, I believe, that are approved on that day.
Right.
Practice. We talk about practice.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes you wonder if there's really more to it. If they had a little coercing to say, come on, guys, you're going to do this anyway. Just do it now. Let's not drag our feet. Let's just get it done. So to your other point, it does make a good precedent case possibly for Pulse Chain because it's a clone of Ethereum. It's a fork of Ethereum 2.0. So the things that make Ethereum not a security technically should also make Pulse Chain not a security because it was a fork of it. Now, will the sacrifice comes into discussion, the other the OA holding the amount that it has not sufficiently decentralized. But again, it only has to fail one leg of the highway. So this could be very helpful as far as precedent goes moving forward. So yeah, it's huge. It's a big decision. And I do agree with you. If Gary were put in front of Congress again to answer questions, is Ethereum a security, yes or no? He still wouldn't answer it as no.
Right.
It's just the way they are. They still do not want to give clarity with anything. They're just saying they're not bringing charges alleging the sales are securities transactions. That's all. It doesn't. They still haven't classified it that way as a commodity yet. I don't think that classification has been made. Just that they're not going to bring charges. That's you kind of almost. I mean, I know it says it flat out, but you read between the lines there. They're still leaving something open, possibly for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, they're never going to say anything concrete like that. They're purely just making a move because they know that the ETF is coming in. And, Gensler's not really long for this world. And I don't mean like, something terrible is going to happen to it. But I mean, as far as like his position in government, I don't think so. Will be good to see him go for sure. But yeah, this is big. It's big for Ethereum. It's big for the rest of the market. So this is bull market stuff. I mean, this is basically like the gloves come off and everybody admits we're in a bull market now, and the news all turns kind of positive, and that's where we're at. So very good. We just need the Ethereum price to catch up with some of this. So I think we're going to see that here soon. So